Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we friends of the press. So we came today at the call of the President, His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, to inaugurate the Nnpcl Limited board, which we have just done. He just did. And I may just say that on behalf of my board, my directors, and on behalf of the board part of the GCEO and the CFO, that we're deeply honored. And we see it as a very rare privilege for the very select few who are the present members of the Board of Directors of Nnpcl. It is very, very, very instructive to say that when the PIA came into being, when the law was enacted, that was 2 years ago. The nation moved that organization from a corporation or an agency of government to a limited liability company. That is very huge. And I think the message that we want to pass to all Nigerians is that our task and our mandate is to be able to bring proper governance, proper corporate governance to Nnpcl Limited, to put in the best of industry process practices, and finally, for the country to be better off, seeing us as a profit center. So our mandate is very, very clear. We will do all that's possible to deliver. Of course, you would have read, and we confirm, that the mandate and marching orders that the President gave us on production, on our refineries, foreign direct investment, and also the future of the Nigerian oil and gas industry. They are all things that my board has already taken, again, I would say on board or put on the table. And we're working with the GCEO and his management to make sure we actualize the present, but also give the management an enabling environment in order to be able to sustain our long-term vision for the country.
Okay. Again, good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies of the press, and also I should seize the opportunity to say good afternoon to the chairman of the Nnpcl Limited board and the board directors who are here. So I think my chairman has already covered why we are here today. Most importantly, it's, again, I repeat, a unique privilege that we have the opportunity to be part of stewarding the Nigerian oil and gas industry, which is the mainstay of our economic prosperity at this point, providing the finances that we need to build the country. To be entrusted with such a huge responsibility is nothing to be taken for granted. So we see that it's a huge sense of responsibility. For me personally, I feel highly privileged to have a board of what I'll call, the president has said it, but I can tell you the very best that we can ever expect to have. And I'm really looking forward to that support, together with the management team, to derive from their experience, their wealth of experience. The board is diverse. What excites me in the board is people who have private sector, real life private sector experience, people who have experience working in Nnpc, which means we have institutional memories of where things can be improved. And we also have representatives from the Ministry of Petroleum and Ministry of Finance that allow us to ensure that we stay, aligned with the national agenda at a detailed level of execution. So I feel very privileged to have such a board. And together with my management team, I'm confident that we will achieve the aspiration of Nigerians and the expectations from this God-given wealth that has brought about many countries to places that today, when we look at them, it is oil that got them there. When you look at Saudi Arabia, it is oil and gas. When you look at Qatar, it's oil and gas. When you look at Brazil, it's oil and gas. We have to make sure that Nigeria, being the giant of Africa, that we're able to translate this God-given wealth to prosperity for Nigerians and, by extension, to the rest of Africa. All of the Africans are looking up to us as the leaders. Every 5 Africans is a Nigerian. God has also blessed us with, which I can say confidently, the best talents in the world. We all know it. Whether you go to Russia, you go to the United States, and you look at the very best of what is happening there, you see Nigerians. I will allow my board chairman to give you a sense of the direction, and if there's any additional details I can, in terms of the implementation, I can give that.
So you guys need to know that the GCO is a very, 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 very clever man. And he wants to put me also in trouble. So the simple question, and maybe I need to tell the press this. We're always going to tell the truth as we see it. No matter how bitter it is, we shall tell you as it is, and we will also tell you how, if we're able to get round to recommendations, how we want to improve. Like the GCO said in his address during the inauguration, we will walk our talk. That's it. It's a promise we have made to Nigerians. And my members, my board is here. And they encourage me to tell the population that that is what we stand for. Our personal integrity, openness, transparency, and due diligence. So, coming back to your, let me answer the IPO first, because I think it's easier. Our belief is that before Nigeria can get a best value, okay, placing an IPO, going for capital raises in the capital market, and following the examples that we see, like the Aramcos, like all those examples that he has cited, anybody who wants to invest must look at what the company represents in terms of the value from their eyes. Coming from the private sector, I will just inform the House. One thing they look for is how is the company managed? How is it governed? What are the processes that are inhibited or that are actually part and parcel of the company? How does the company report and relate to its shareholders? Because invariably anybody who participates in the IPO will become a shareholder. So on that note, I will not give a date, but I will tell you that we are full-fledged, head-on sailing to these parameters that I just gave you that will make an NPC have the best value when it goes to an IPO. On the first question, which is the refineries. Now, the refinery story has been very, 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 very long. So I know we are expecting that the refineries should work and for Nigerians to be better. As a matter of fact, let me just loop in before I answer your question. So you see, I'm trying to give you a roundabout answer. But what we have as part vision of one of the cardinal principles that we want Nnpc, how we want Nnpc Limited to be seen, is that the most casual, everyday Nigerian on the streets who knows and only feels that the only kind of visibility he has or she has of Nnpcl is the long queues, is the insufficient service, again, inverted commas, and the news that's out there of how NNPC is not a company that represents Nigeria. So our focus is going to be on also changing the narrative. And on this, I'm asking your help, the press. Please report exactly as we say. You can criticize us. We are okay with that to the extent that it's important feedback, and we will welcome it. But please don't sensationalize. And you know sensation sells better than the truth these days. So we as Nigerians, all of us, need to change the narrative of a company that is owned by yourselves as shareholders so that we can all do better and follow the example of countries that have excelled. Now refineries. What we are doing, we are taking an assessment of the historics of what has happened since to our refineries. We're going to deal with it in a very, very pragmatic way so that when we come to you, we will be able to tell you what are the concrete steps that we are going to take that would either be of greatest value to Nigerians or that will make our refineries to function optimally. I know I've dropped a little message there. Nothing is off the table. So we will tell you what we think as experts in the oil and gas, and more especially in the downstream. We will not be afraid to tell you what the options are. They may be hard. They will be critical, definitely, but we will always tell you the truth. Question here. The person in charge will answer. So let me put him in some little hot water. But the second one is extremely important. Sorry, how did you ask the question again? Because I want to answer you. No, I know the second one. I want to know how you asked it. No. Okay. So again, because when we bring the subject of, and again, you know, I alluded earlier on to the ordinary Nigerian on the streets. This is what he says. This is what he sees. This is what he reads, and that's what makes a sensation. I want to be very, 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 very clear, and I want to be unequivocal. Our task is to go and look at an NPC, see what it has, truthfully come back to you with what we see from our own eyes, and then tell you, look, we have seen this, and we are ready to put the building blocks so that we get here. Our task is not to look for who did what. Our task is to report to you what we have seen. So I know I am not answering your question very directly, but I really want to be very, very clear that we are not there, the board, the management, we are not there to start witch hunting people. That is definitely not in our mandate, neither is it in our scope. But what is our mandate is to make sure that we do a proper analysis of what we have on ground as an NPC Limited and come back to you in a truthful way and also tell you how tomorrow and 10 years will be. So I know I haven't answered the question directly, but this is the only answer we have. I would now allow him to take the warm bath.
Thank you.
Because there's a part of it that has to do with growing the production, right? So the GCO talked about what's going on now. And then from our varied resolve on the board, we will, again, say things the way he has said it, the truth. That's what we are meeting. But we would not necessarily agree with such reports because there are some of us who are coming from a very varied experience of projects, of ways and methods in which we can bring more production to Nigeria. And for us, you, again, on the plea of the GCO, you need to give us a little time to look at what has happened in decades of this view that we have always had of NNPC as a corporation or a government agency that has transformed to a limited liability company. And you also have to give us the time a little bit for us to get our acts together also, because all of us are new in this new way of operations, right? And in saying that, I would even plead to even the board itself that for whatever we will do, we will take one step, even if it's a baby step, at a time. And the important thing for us is to make sure that we don't take any step backwards. And that we can come to you and show you that we are taking very sure-footed steps so that it is sustainable to you, our shareholders.
I just chip in two things just to complement what my chairman has said. It's just first is to emphasize the challenge of moving from corporation to a limited liability company as per PIA. It seems to be easy on paper, but in reality, it's tough. My experience over the last couple of months, I've also studied several other countries where such a transition has been done. Most of the time, it takes somewhere between 3 to 5 years to really fully make that transition properly. And that means they have a program and they follow the program. But I think what the press can help us, the fellow Nigerians can help us, is to begin to see NNPC in that as a Kama company that is meant to operate within the Kama rules and Kama laws. Everybody still have a perception as NNPC, either like a regulator. We're not NUPRC, we're not NMDPRA, we are a business. And I think that will really help. That's why I see my chairman continue to emphasize the NNPC Limited. It will take all of us together as Nigerians to help NNPC move to that point that the PIA has put in place. I think that's the first thing I wanted to sort of, again, ask for the press to pay special attention on that journey and do not just assume that because that announcement has been made is there. That journey is going to take us another 2 years minimum, and that will be with a lot of hard work where you can truly claim that we're on the path towards achieving that IPO as has been said. I think the second point is around the refineries. To add that we've now done the inspection, initial inspection of 2. We're hoping to do the third one by the next coming weeks, to begin to have the base information. You know, it's not about what you are told. You have to go there and see for yourself. And hopefully by the time we finish those inspections, we'll be going to the board to share what we have seen and get the direction from the board on how we then move forward and be able to achieve what Mr. Chairman has told you around. We will come back with facts the way they are. And indeed, none of the options are off the table. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for also confirming that we don't have security agencies on the board. The board are oil and gas professionals. Neither do we have on our management team, so that in case you will come back with the question. We will leave security definition of what is corruption and what's not. We do not have the competence to make such an assessment. Anything you hear will be gestations and things. We don't want to fall into that trap, so that you know we're very clear. We're going to stay clear. The security agencies and the law enforcement agencies will do their job across as appropriate. So I think that question will be better directed to them. We will not ever be able to answer that. On the issue of the competitions and the point you made, is a very, very important point. What is important for Nigerians, the first thing is availability and price. As an ordinary Nigerian, right? So we have to separate the 200 plus million people from the fortunate one of us that have businesses in one thing or the other. So it depends on where is our priority. Our priority is that the products are available and they are available at a price that is the lowest we can afford, irrespective of how we get there. So that's the first priority. The point you made is also a very important priority. Businesses that have been in some form of product stations and things like that, I think they will need to update their business model. what we are also going to do is to support that updating of business model. Remember when we used to have thousands of banks and the whole Naira, the economy was not really stable? There was a consolidation, right? Today, some of the Nigerian banks are not only in Nigeria, they are in other African countries, they are in Dubai, they are in the UK. That's the kind of capacity we want to build. So my expectation, in all honesty, is that some of these smaller ones will look for partnerships and collaborations that will make them sustainable. But what we should keep in mind that whatever we do, we should not fall into the trap of doing it at the expense of the maybe 218 or 19. The number of people that are running, they are not up to 1 million, right? So the question is, where do we prioritize? You understand what I mean? So that's our first priority. Then we come back to helping to protect businesses, encouraging them to consolidate and change their business model so that they can remain in business. But that is also on our table. Thank you. Then he can cover. I think the first thing, like Mr. Chairman said, is in terms of the assessment. Our commitments, as per the mandate from Mr. President, if you look at it, is to increase production, not to reduce production, right? When we came in, within the first 1 month, production was already declining to up to about 1.5 million barrels per day. If you check today, we are back to about 1.7, and we're doing everything we need to do to continue to increase those productions. So we don't necessarily agree with Woodmark report that Nigerian production will drop, right? Unless the question you ask, my board would not allow me to drop production, right? Let's call it that way, right? Neither will be management team. So we will work assiduously to ensure that that Woodmark statement is not what we see, right? That said, we need to attract a lot of financing, a lot of funding. What we're doing now is we're engaging with all the parties, all the operators, to ensure that we find ways to further attract additional funding. But one thing we should also give a bit of time for, right? The new management team has just been here for less than 2 months, right? Already, you know that the market has already responded to say that they believe that this new management team will take the industry and the country to a different level, as well as the new board of directors, right? So it's just 2 months. So I will ask Nigerians and the press to also give the new board the time for us to begin that transformation. My belief is, with that credibility that the board has brought and the new management team, there are more businesses. I'm getting more proposals on my table with people coming up to say, now we think you have a new board, we think corporate governance will be improved, we think there'll be more transparency, and we are ready to do business with you. People who have not been doing business with us for the last 5 years. So I think in what I see, the taste of the pudding, they say, is in the eating. Is in the early days, the reverse is the case. We are seeing the credibility that is expected. Already, people are positioning to take advantage of that credibility. So I'm more positive that you will see more investment coming through, towards the end of this year into early next year. Once you begin to see the full, let me call it, flavor of our new board and management team. Thank you.